Thanks for joining us for another Tantrum House crowdfunding conniption. Xander, what are we looking at today?
Today we're looking at Faeries and Magical Creatures from Forbidden Games.
We want you to be aware that our crowdfunded videos are sponsored in part by our own Kickstarter backers, as well as by the creators of this game. Thanks for joining us at Tantrum House Studio 3. I'm Sara Meadows.
And I'm Zander Meadows.
And today we are befriending fairy folk in the enchanted game Faeries and Magical Creatures.
This game goes for 2 to 4 players and goes 45 minutes.
It's from designer Glenn Drover, and this family weight game features some deck building, tile placement, and a bit of area control. In this video, we won't be sharing opinions, but we do want to show you how the game plays so you can make an informed decision when it comes to becoming a backer. Let's jump in and see how it's played. To set up the game, give everyone their board, tokens, and starting card.
Place out some tiles and fairy cards, and then you're ready to begin.
The acting player will select one of 5 actions and can also play a card from their hand. All of the other players will also take that same chosen action. You can call fairies and draw up to 5 cards into your hand.
You can give a helping hand and play a card.
You can gain trust and put a kinship cube on the board. The first player to 10 in one faction will get to build that fairy folk's home in their garden.
You can build paths and flowers in your garden.
Or you can befriend a fairy and gain a card. And like a normal deck builder, new cards that you gain will go in your discard pile, and when your draw pile is empty, you'll shuffle your discard pile to draw cards. Now, there's lots of fairy cards in the deck. Tell us about them, Xander.
All the fairy cards look super cool. So there's some like unicorns and ogres, and they all look super cool. The artwork is super great and just looks amazing. And it's super fun just to like draw the cards and wonder what the cards are going to do and just everything like that.
Yep, so this artwork is from Annie Steggerard. You may recognize it from some of the other Forbidden games. It's in that similar style with this one features not only just fairies, but also 4 other factions of creatures. And those creatures will do things like help you move the kinship cubes around on the board or add cubes. You may even gain points for certain types of cards in your deck.
And there's some bonuses in your garden, like you can play a cube, draw cards, get a point.
Yep, so those are if you cover those areas in your garden with a tile. Now, when you place a tile, you can choose if you're going to place it as a path or if you're going to place it as a garden. And at the end of the game, you're going to score 1 point for every tile in each space on that tile, each cube or square, that if that tile is touching the path, then it will score. And if you manage to get a fairy home in that area, it will score 2 points per little cube section of that tile. So there's possibility of points. The other way that you can gain points of the game is for the cubes on the fairy board. And the fairy folk will give points for whoever has the most will gain a point for every single cube in that area. So you're going to count all the players' cubes, and the player with the most will get those points. And second place is going to get 1 point for just their cubes.
Yeah.
So what happened in our game?
So the game we just played a little bit, it was super cool because I think I got like 92 points, and I beat our mom by like 30 points because our mom got 61 points.
Yep. And why do you think you ended up winning?
I think because I had this one card, like every 2 cubes you have on a place, you get 1 point. Mm-hmm. So, and I had like 3 of those, so I just kept loading up with points.
Yeah, so you ended up placing a lot of those kinship cubes out on the board, and you were taking that as your action a lot. So you had way more cubes on the board than I did.
Yeah.
And so you got a lot of points.
Yeah. I was also really lucky by placing those cube cards and just getting them really lucky in the spots.
Yeah, getting them out there. So the way that the game ends is either somebody runs out of their cubes, the fairy deck runs out, or if the bag ends up of the tiles for your garden runs out, or if somebody has managed to gain all, or somebody has taken all of the fairy homes. And those homes will give you 2 points for each tile that is touching it in your garden. So you're going to count every little square of the point, or to 1 point each normally for a tile that's touching a path. And if it's touching a fairy home, it's going to score double. So each little square is going to be worth 2 points. So you're going to want to try and place some garden tiles next to the fairy homes, which works out pretty well if you can manage to place them in the right spots. So if you are looking for a game to introduce to some younger gamers, or maybe some casual gamers, and introduce some of these mechanics, this might be something that you'll look into. It features the deck building. It just introduces it in the rules in a simple way, and it features the tile laying and placing tiles to try and cover certain things. The scoring for the garden area is simple and easy to understand. And then it also has that little bit of area control. The hardest part for younger gamers may be, especially younger gamers, might be just reading the cards, although the text is simple. You were able to read all the text just fine and keep up and understand how deck building works. So this game has very little downtime in that everyone will be taking action. So what happens when after the active player takes their action?
Everyone else also gets to take their action too.
Yeah, so they will also take that same action, which makes the gameplay go fairly quickly. You'll be making decisions, but it'll be like, oh, I get to place a kinship cube out, and it's just 1 cube, so everybody gets to do something every turn. So it's easy for younger players to keep up and, oh, I get to do this, or oh, I get a card, or oh, I get to draw some cards into my hand. So it makes it easy to follow along, and then most of the scoring and points earned in the game is going to be at the end. So you can use the little tracks on your player board to keep track of everybody's points. For a 2-player game, you'll remove a few tiles from the bag and cards from the deck so that the gameplay is about the same amount of time. And you'll place out a few more tiles or cards for your player count into the market areas, so that will affect what choices you may have for selecting. So you won't refresh those when everybody else takes their turn. They'll select from whatever's there. So you might end up with just taking whatever tile is left, but that's the puzzle part of trying to fit it on your board in the best way possible. If this sounds like something you're interested in, you can check out Faeries and Magical Creatures from Forbidden Games and their Kickstarter campaign. We can check out the rest of the artwork that will be featured in the game, and I'm sure there will be plenty of information about shipping and fulfillment when that time comes. Thank you so much for checking out our video. Thank you, Zander, for joining me today and talking about Fairies and Magical Creatures. Thank you so much for subscribing and liking our channel here at Tantrum House.
Bye.
Bye. Woohoo!
Oh, bum, ba-dum. I'm ready to destroy my video game.